So you want to drive the AutoShift? Give us a few minutes and we'll show you everything you need to know. Because the AutoShift is easy to drive. In fact, once you get a feel for how it works, it's about as easy to drive as a car with an automatic transmission. Over the next few minutes, we'll show you the components you'll be using, proper startup, normal operation, operation under special conditions, and proper shutdown procedures. And that's all you'll need to drive the AutoShift. What we don't cover in this video, you'll find detailed in your driver's instruction manual. In fact, we recommend that you read through the manual before you drive the AutoShift, just to be sure you're thoroughly familiar with what you've got working for you. So let's get started. In general, you should know that the Eaton AutoShift is an automated Eaton Fuller transmission that only requires you to depress the clutch when starting the vehicle, when selecting a gear while standing still, and when stopping. But it automatically selects and engages gears when you're in motion. In other words, without requiring you to depress the clutch pedal. The fact that AutoShift can detect exactly when the conditions are right for a shift and can engage gears so precisely means there's less wear and tear on components. Now, there are two key AutoShift components in the cab. A gear display, which will display the gear you're in and the gear you're moving to, and a shift console. Now, the shift console gives you 5 mode selections: reverse, neutral, drive, hold, and low. There are also up and down arrows, which let you select your starting gear and control your upshifts and downshifts while driving in the hold mode. A service light on the shift console will alert you in the event of potential transmission problems or service needs. An option button will provide access to expanded services. Now, before we take the truck out on the road, it's important to understand that AutoShift uses the entire startup sequence as sort of a system check. That means AutoShift requires a slightly different startup procedure than what you're probably used to. It's important that you follow this procedure. So, to follow proper startup, here's what you do. As with any vehicle, be sure to use proper safety procedures. Buckle up. Be sure the parking or spring brake is set and you're in neutral. If for some reason the key is already in the truck and in the on position, turn it off before attempting startup. With the key in the off position, depress the clutch and turn the key to the on position. Notice that at power up, the shift console will light up as the AutoShift goes through a self-test. If the service light remains lit, continues flashing, or doesn't light at all, you'll want to refer to your driver's manual for the procedures to follow before attempting to drive the AutoShift. With a normal power-up, start your engine and then just release your clutch pedal, allowing AutoShift to register input shaft speed, and wait to build your air pressure to 90 psi. When you've achieved pressure, apply your service brakes and take the clutch all the way to the floor. This stops the input shaft so AutoShift can get into gear. Then choose your startup gear. Now, if you select drive, you'll default to a first gear startup. In drive or hold, you'll also be able to use the arrows to select another starting gear. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. Regardless of your mode, you'll notice your gear display flashing. This means your gear isn't actually engaged yet. Here's the difference I told you about earlier. You have to partially release your clutch. As you do, your gear display will go from flashing to solid, indicating that the gear is engaged. When you're fully in gear, take the clutch pedal back to the floor. Release the parking or spring brake, release the service brake, slowly release the clutch, and get on the throttle. Now that's an important point. Remember, AutoShift doesn't need the clutch now that you've selected your starting gear. If you ride the clutch as you apply the throttle, you're simply putting unnecessary wear on your clutch. As you drive, AutoShift will detect the need to shift. It will flash the next target gear as an indication that a shift is in progress. And at the appropriate time, automatically upshift or downshift. When the shift is complete, the display is solid with the new gear. AutoShift can brake torque, reach synchronous, and precisely engage gears. But sometimes there are situations where you want to control when a shift occurs. With AutoShift, the choice is yours. AutoShift's hold mode gives you that control. Hold allows you to shift using the up and down arrows on the shift console. If you're stopped and want to switch from drive to hold, depress the clutch. Then select hold. Again, use the up or down arrows on the shift console to select the right gear for the situation, and then release the clutch. If you're already driving and you want to take over the shifts, simply select the hold mode, and AutoShift will remain in the current gear until you direct it to upshift or downshift, again, using the up or down arrows. Now, if you're driving and come into a situation that requires a shift to low mode, for instance, a steep grade, just select low on the shift console, and AutoShift will automatically move into low mode at the earliest opportunity, inhibiting further upshifts and downshifting at about 200 RPM higher for more engine braking. If you're stopped and want to switch from drive to low, again, depress the clutch, select low on the shift console, release the clutch, and AutoShift will remain in low until you take it to drive or hold, or until engine overspeed protection is reached, in which case AutoShift will engage the next gear to protect the engine. To get back to drive while in motion, simply select drive. No need to use the clutch, and AutoShift will again upshift and downshift automatically. Remember, we've indicated that AutoShift only requires you to use the clutch at startup, when selecting your starting gear, and when stopping. When stopping the vehicle, regardless of your driving mode, depress the clutch and brake as you would with a manual transmission. If you're shutting down, just select neutral. Check your gear display to be sure you're in neutral. If not, partially release and depress the clutch again until the gear display shows a solid neutral. Then release the clutch pedal, set the parking brake, and turn off the ignition. One note, after the key is turned off, the transmission will take about 20 seconds to store information and perform a self-check before it powers down. That's it. That's all you need to know to drive the AutoShift. But again, we recommend you read your driver instruction manual before driving the AutoShift. Not only will it give you useful tips, it will give you step-by-step instructions for basic maintenance, troubleshooting, and important procedures that must be followed under special conditions, such as vehicle towing, which requires you to tow with the drive wheels off the ground or the drive shaft disconnected in order to prevent damage to your system. As always, if you need more information or have questions, contact your Eaton Road Rangers Service Network at 1-800-826-HELP. The Eaton AutoShift, a new generation of technology that you can depend on.